What was a loophole that you found and exploited the hell out of? When I was in college, a guy actually bought a calculator, $30, from the bookstore and just pressed the buttons through the plastic packaging and returned it at the end of the semester. Calling the FCC on Comcast because Comcast is a bag of big digs. Every time my bill gets lower. And I've even been flagged as a problem customer. But I keep calling with legitimate complaints. Internet speed slower than I pay for. Unnecessary fees attached to my bill. Paying for an extra box when I only have one. My bill went down from $150 month to $60 month. Blazing fast internet and all of the premium channels. My goal is to have them paying me for their service by 2017 if given the chance. My college didn't put any dates on our student IDs. No graduation year. No expiration date. Nothing. As a result, I kept using it to get student discounts 4 years after I graduated. Mostly the 15% off J.Crew discount. There's a Jack in the Box right near me. When you buy something, you get a link to a survey for 3 free tacos. When you get the tacos, they give you a new receipt with a new survey code. Infinite tacos. Not me. Back in around 2004, a friend of mine found out his bank couldn't charge him fees while in his student overdraft. He also discovered the train company he uses took money sometimes 7 working days after the purchase. He'd buy a train ticket on the day with no money in his account. He'd get the train 3-7 days later. The company would try and take the money. It wasn't there and the bank couldn't charge him fees. They sent letter after letter and he just kept doing it for years. Never picking up his phone to the bank. One day he goes into branch and the manager summoned him into the back office. Explained that he had been manipulating a loophole and the bank were having to pay for every one of his train tickets. He shrugged and said, "I have no money to pay into the account. That account will always be empty. Just close it." Manager said they couldn't close it without his permission. He asked how much his permission was worth. £250 it was worth and a promise to please use another bank. Have asked banking friends about this and that loophole is now well and truly closed, sadly. Early on in Minecraft, if you dug a hole straight down, go into the corner, and use third person to look in just the right direction, you could see through the block texture. The result was you could see things like caves and lava pits really easily, which was key to finding good ore back then. We called it prospecting. It was eventually patched out. Back in college I had a 30-day trial for some software. This was back in the early 2000s when that stuff wasn't quite as sophisticated. I found that if I kept changing my computer calendar back before opening the program, it would think I was still within the initial month. I did this for years. Papa John's had an online coupon which could only be used once, but by changing the URL you could print new coupons. Would take me 20 seconds to find an unused code and free pizza time. After about 10 free pizzas the manager called to ask how I was getting so many codes, so I quit. Back in the 90s I figured out if you dialed 14,711,471 on a payphone it gave you an open line without needing any money. Free phone calls for me, D. Which was useful because I live miles away from my friends and like to chat to them for hours on the phone. Lawyer here. Adobe has a loophole where, if someone uses their redaction program, you can open a PDF on an older computer that is slower. Zoom in and out real fast and the redaction disappear. I had a case where the defendant was a con man but good at what he did, so our securities violation case was really a toss-up, had to do with joint venture interest. Anyway, guy has to produce text messages, and some of which had redaction. I did my trick. Found out the guy was dealing drugs as well, turned the ducker over for drug trafficking, because he was selling RX pills across state lines, and well, we lost the civil case, but ducked him over anyway. Bought a cake in the supermarket. Was listed as $3.99 with a $4 off sticker on it. They honored it and gave me a cent. Before they changed the machine, If you played Hungry Hungry Hippos alone at Chuck E. Cheese, you got all of the tickets that would normally go between 4 players. Because obviously your hippo gets the most food. It really appealed to my I don't have any friends side. Years ago, Blockbuster had buy 2 get 1 free sale for used DVDs. So I would pick 2 whatever movies and one that I absolutely wanted. A few days later, I would come in, return the 2 movies, then pick the new ones. I repeated this process for a whole summer. Copied and pasted from the last time. Back in the day, 2007/2008, I found a major flaw in the pose at Blockbuster. Their system would update overnight, but only certain parts. And these parts were on different days of the week. Their new item prices would update on Thursday. Their used prices would update on Friday, but their trade-in values would update after closing on Sunday. This meant if a game dropped in MSRP, its new version would first lower on Thursday morning, $49.99 to $19.99, and be cheaper than the used version. The next day, on Friday morning, its used version would be lowered, $47.99 to $17.99. The trade-in value would still be the same, usually $30 minus $35. Even though you could pull the game off the rack, buy it for $20, then trade in back without leaving the line. I did this a few times and felt bad, so I emailed corporate to let them know about the loophole. They told me they didn't take in information suggestions from outside parties. Essentially because they had that set up as part of their business strategy. I then proceeded to assist them in their endeavors by buying 25 plus copies of Beowulf from Best Buy for $9.99. $19.99 minus $10 coupon, and trading them in for $800 in store credit. Then I repurchased all 25 copies with the store credit for $500. Then I traded them in again. Then I bought them again. I did this a few times over the weekend and ended up with $1,200 in store credit from $250 cash. Then I found a few games GameStop gave good money for and traded them in over their 4 store credit. I made some pre-order and eventually cancelled them and requested cash back for the deposit. I eventually got a letter from Blockbuster banning me from trading. But it had the wrong date, post-dated for the next year, and I kept trading. I don't feel bad about it. I once downloaded LimeWire Pro with the demo version. I was dating someone long ago, and her mother bought LimeWire Pro. She was so pissed when she learned that it was still illegal. Got a bunch of ICE notices. Sometimes you can put your belt through the leather design logo on the back of your pants. I downloaded a free trial of WinRAR. I found that if the trial runs out, you can still use the software. I've been using WinRAR for 4 years. Life has never been better. When I was a kid, 13 if I recall correctly, I figured out the number AOL used to dial out when you sign up for the service. And I managed to get online with my PC and Dreamcast that way. I can't remember exactly how I did it, but I do remember AOL attempting to sue me, and my mom getting pretty upset. But they apparently dropped it when they found out I was so young. As a college student with meager financial assets, I wanted to be able to read the newspaper. I'm a news junkie, and this was before the internet was as good for news as it is today. I learned that if you simultaneously pulled the door and pushed the coin return on the newspaper machine, it would return your coins and still allow the door to open. Read the news and scored a lot of coupons that way. The soda machine near the locker room. For some reason, every now and then, when you bought a Hawaiian punch, the floodgates would open and all of the remaining HPs would flood out. Whenever I had some change, I'd give it a shot. We had different theories about what made it work, but I think it was just random. My first semester at college, I lived in a 3-story dorm with roughly 50 rooms per floor. About halfway through the semester, the local Domino's decided to offer a promotion where if you signed up for a new account with a unique address, you got your first pizza for free. My roommate and I exploited the hell out of this promotion by registering for a new Domino's account twice a day using a new mailinator email address and a new room number. By the end of the promotion a couple of months later we had registered rooms up to the 14th floor of the 3-floor dorm we lived in. We're absolutely sick of pizza. And we're about 15 pounds heavier. All in. We spent about $360 to tip the driver, $3 delivery, for somewhere between 100 and 120 free pizzas over a 2-month period. I was once the only person to show up to a Microsoft CRM event. Since I was the only person to attend, I automatically won the door prize of Xbox 360 with a Kinect. The downside of this loophole was 3 long hours of talking with MS product evangelists who were very disheartened and desperate to make a sale. ISPs and cable companies love to sign you up by offering new subscriber deals. Problem is the rate ends after a time and you are paying a higher rate. And you are usually under contract, so it costs you to get out of it, unless you move out of their service area. So in college between years my roommates and I would systematically cancel our contracts saying we were moving. Then another roommate called and started service under his name. We got the discount rates for 4 straight years. It was in Navy boot camp. And if you've ever been through boot camp you know that speaking during meals is forbidden. Not even a whisper. Then service week arrived and the chain of command ordered me to work the mess hall. The job was to pass out cups at the beverage section in order to move the line as fast as possible. Being on service week, I was permitted to talk. Used that loophole to smile and give each recruit their cup by name. Here you go. Miller. Read the names off their uniforms. It was the only time all day that somebody treated them like a human being. The smiles of gratitude were priceless. I know one of you ducks knew how to game pink party hat and the grand exchange. Back in a computer class during grade school we had to use this test program for the class. We would learn how to use Word, Excel, etc. then take the test. Well, I figured out that during the test if you hit Ctrl A, it would highlight everything on the page. Except for the correct multiple choice answer. Got an easy A in the class. I was a bike messenger in the early 90s and learned 2 calling tricks. The first one was a red boxing its noise simulator that you could buy at Radio Shack that could replicate the noise you hear in your ear for each coin you drop in a payphone. You would hold this little gadget to the mouthpiece and every time you pushed it the coin noise would be accepted as credit toward your call. The second is that ATM machines used to have phones on them to contact a bank rep with problems. If you lifted the receiver and tapped the hook switch to mimic a rotary phone, think of Morse code, 2 equals tap tap space. You get it. You could make free calls all day. Even internationally. A roommate of mine abused this at the same machine every night talking to his girlfriend overseas. He didn't have the smarts to acknowledge the 3 cameras recording him and was arrested. When gambling websites offer a free £10 bet when you spend £10. Bet both ways. I usually use tennis matches since there's no draw. It works best in a fairly one-sided match. Because if the free bet wins, you only earn the amount gained, not the free bet's value. So you need odds of 2-1 or greater for a no-lose situation. My credit card through my bank gives me reward points. My card is linked to my checking account. You used to get points every time you used your checking account to pay a bill. As well as points for spending on the card. They originally didn't put a limit on how many times you could pay a bill in a month and still get points. So I was literally paying my credit card bill after every single purchase. Coffee in the morning. Pay bill online. Lunch. Pay bill. Gasoline. Pay bill. etc. I was getting more points from paying my bill over 100 times a month than I was from using the card. They changed this after about 2 years. I had a coin-operated washing machine and dryer in my college apartment. 4 quarters to wash. 8 quarters to dry. We figured out that if you opened the dryer with 1 minute left on the clock and inserted 1 additional quarter the timer would reset to max dry time. Laundry went from $3 to $1.25. Unfortunately, the landlord's daughter lived in the same complex and ratted us out, and they replaced the dryer with a tier 1. If you do a 3-month trial of Apple Music and your car automatically starts playing music when you turn it on, you can go way past the trial. But you can no longer pick your songs, so hopefully you had it on a good shuffle. During the last year of university, a couple of my friends and I discovered that one of the buildings often did like a fancy buffet table if it was hosting a lecture for visitors. It actually was quite a common occurrence, and we realized that the people looking after the food didn't care if you were part of the visitors or not, so we would just go along and take a bunch of free food. Great for poor and starving students. My wife had foot surgery this summer. Daughter had a short hospital stay earlier this year. We've met our family insurance deductible, so now that everything is covered at 100%, everyone is stocking up on medical supplies, procedures, chiropractic visits, and anything else we normally can't afford. When you fly Southwest Business Select, print your boarding pass and drink coupons at home. Check in at the counter and have them printed again. If you have a connecting flight, you will now arrive at your destination pleasantly toasted. I've gotten away with it on a single flight by ordering doubles as well. I carry round an unopened parking ticket and stick it on the windscreen if I have to leave the car in a place it shouldn't be. Back before all info was stored on computers, I discovered that military leave requests were approved and signed by the local chain of command as paper carbon copies. One copy was placed in the soldier's file, one given to the soldier as his leave pass, and the last copy sent to FT Ben Harrison to be officially recorded and subtracted from a soldier's accrued leave. So, taking leave without it counting against the leave accrued was simply a matter of making friends with the company clerk and making sure that last copy ended up in the round file rather than mailed to FT Ben. I traveled all over Europe on and off for about 4 months that year until my ridiculous time away was noticed by my SGT and compared the local records to the official one. I was only docked about 1/3 of the leave I'd taken, and they chalked it up to a mistake. If I'd have had the good sense not to go over the top, the entire thing would have gone unnoticed. Good times. The free water and $50 iced coffee refills at Starbucks. You used to be able to get an iced coffee and get it refilled for $50 at any Starbucks as long as you had your cup. My buddy and I would play basketball at the park, walk to the Starbucks next door and ask for venti iced waters. We would drink them to cool down on the 1-block drive to the next Starbucks, where we would write the code for unsweetened iced coffee on our now empty venti water cups. We would walk in and pay 50 cents for a would-be $3 venti iced coffee. We did this for a good 8 months before they changed the rules to you can only get the 50-cent refill during the same visit and writing IW or H20 in the drink code box on the water cup. I'm a lot older now and pay full price for my iced coffee. Got this student edge card for free at university. Came with all these shitty deals, but the best one was for McDonald's. Spend $5 and get a free medium soft drink. You couldn't use this deal when buying from the cheap menu, but no one ever checked. The Loophole went further though when they had their Monopoly game one year. The medium soft drinks came with a code, so I would get them essentially for free and then get free food off of the codes. Circle of life. My last job I worked at for 5 years gave me discounts to a ton of things. I stopped working there, but I never returned my employee card. I still abuse the hell out of it for free parking, free museums, free movie tickets, free subway rides, etc. In the early 2000s, I'd go to the movies with a group of friends and buy 2 tickets. One of us would go out with both ticket stubs and bring a friend who was waiting outside. Then someone else would go out with both stubs again and bring another friend. We did this until all of us got in. Not sure if this can still work now. I've never tried this, but my friend claims he's done it a few times. Get a grey wig and buy the senior citizen reduced rate ticket. The people who check the tickets are getting paid minimum wage and don't give a duck if your face doesn't have enough wrinkles to be 65. Our ISP was doing a thanks promo, where if you had our internet service with them you get a free movie ticket if you entered your account details. Now these tickets they gave you wasn't a ticket, it was a code you use on the cinema website. Turns out you can enter a random account number and it would still give you a free code. That year 4 of us went to watch a movie every week, sometimes even twice a week. We also gave some out. That was a glorious year. EMT here. In our charting system, there is an entire menu of choices for a patient's prescription medicines. I was always taught how to fill out this menu item by item, which, for older folks, can be incredibly tedious. One day, scrolling through the huge list of meds looking for one or another, I found the option, list given to ED staff. One click, and I don't have to spend 10 minutes typing in medications. Sounds like a small thing, but boy does it make a difference. My high school had just started using computers to keep track of attendance and class registrations. There were some bugs. Like you might accidentally be assigned a class and a study hall at the same time. Therefore, if you didn't show up for the first week, they dropped you from the class and assumed you were somewhere else. The computer didn't raise any flags if this wasn't true. My junior and senior years I did this and just showed up to school late for my second class. I blew my mind that no one seemed to notice. Senior year I took it a step further and did this for the class after lunch. I was in school at 9 and left at noon.